Well, it's early winter up here in central North Dakota, and you can tell today we got plenty of ice to be out here, and we got the first snowstorm of the year. So I'll tell you what, the fishing should be pretty good right in front of this thing. It's really going to come in tonight, so I'm thinking that we'll get after them pretty good. Hey, stay right where you're at. Fish head's coming up. Sometimes the key to catching fish is just slowing down, and I kind of think that what I might have been doing here for part of my morning, jigging a little bit too aggressively. What we're doing here, you know, we're on first ice, and when you get out here and it's your first time out of the year, a lot of times you just got to work through a lot of different presentations. And let me show you something. That perch just hit that ice worm, and when he hit it, I was using a couple wax worms, but look at that. I had missed one here a few minutes ago. I'll bet you it's the same perch. There's a minnow in his mouth. So we finally got him, and he's gonna go home and eat. But one of the things we're doing here is, like I said, you get out here on this first ice and first time out of the year, and I'm on a lake that's got a smorgasbord of walleyes in here. It's got perch in here, and we're actually targeting the perch. But I'll tell you what, I'll take a couple walleyes for the dinner table if we can get them today. But what you got to do is you got to come out here with the most open mind that you're going to have all year long, because you don't know the mood the fish are in right from the get-go. I mean, the season's just getting going. There's not a lot of reports out there. And what I'm sitting on right now, the bottom line is I'm not sure if I'm going to catch a whole bunch of perch today, or if I'm going to get some walleyes mixed in, or if I'm going to get all walleyes. So what I've done is, I mean, I started with a rattling flyer spoon. I've had a Lindy darter down there, and I've ended up on this Lindy ice worm because what I found out was I got fish to come into me while I was working those aggressive baits, but they weren't biting. So the first thing that I thought was, I'll bet you those are perch, because walleyes should have hit those. And as soon as I switched over to this ice worm, all of a sudden, I'm getting the fish to come off the bottom and do more than look. Now they're starting to bite. But the other thing I'm doing is I'm really slowing down. I'm actually, when I see a fish on the screen, I'm just holding it still and almost just having a little bit of a natural quiver in there. Nothing more than that, because when I jig them aggressively, they just don't seem to be real fired up. Let's see if we can't get us another one here. There's another one on the screen. He's coming up right now. There he is. Ooh, I missed him. Got him. I don't know if this one's as big. We'll have to see. You know, oh yeah, he's just fine. One of the neat things about where I'm fishing today is that the bodies of water like I'm on are available all throughout the Dakotas, and they're actually pretty easy to find. It's a great eating perch right there. We'll throw him in. But here's what I'm doing. I'm on a lake that 15 years ago, it didn't have a lot of fish in it. And I'll tell you why. It didn't have a lot of water in it. But all throughout central North Dakota right now, there are bodies of water like this that have just filled up with water over the last 15 years. And what's happened is the DNR's come in and they've stocked a lot of these bodies of water. And they've put a lot of fish in here, but now what's really cool is natural reproduction is starting to take place. Now, these things are a lot like a bowl, though. You know, there's not a ton of structure out here because, you know, in the old days, some of these lakes were looked at as farm ponds. There really wasn't much to them. But when all this water came in and started flooding them, it made it so that they actually got classified as a lake. So what you're able to do is come out here, and because there's not a ton of structure unless you're fishing shorelines, you're able to actually walk along and just see fish with your graph. And as I snowmobiled through this morning, we looked in a few different depths, and I finally came across a bunch of fish out here in 21 to 24 feet. So I started up on the shallow side of it, thinking that the fish are going to be a little bit shallower when they're feeding. So what you want to do is just look for these these types of bodies of water on the North Dakota Game and Fish website. You can see the stocking data, and they'll tell you exactly what's out there. And I'll tell you what, they're just great opportunities because they're full of perch, they're full of walleyes. One more thing, they're not very pressured, which makes them a lot of fun because you can come out here and catch fish that you don't have to deal with 15 people around you, and you don't have to deal with the fact that the fish have seen everything today. You come in here, you find your own pot of fish, and you can actually sit on them and just catch them over and over. There's one of those bonus walleyes that swims around with these guys. That's a neat thing about fishing jumbos. When you're fishing jumbos, you're usually in the same neighborhood as eater-sized walleyes because they'll feed together. There's no fear there. That's a great addition to that bucket. Got him. You know, one of the keys to catching fish over and over and over is being able to get down there quick. That's another good perch. Go home for dinner. You know, the jig I'm using here in this ice worm, one of the neat things about it is it fishes so heavy I can get back down there quick. I missed this guy a couple times. What happens a lot of times is you pull that jig up away from him and all of a sudden you set that hook and you may go up 4 or 5 feet. If you don't get right back down to him, what can happen is those fish, they can find something 4 or 5 feet off to the side that's more interesting to them and they just leave. So you want to be able to get back down there really quick. And this is a great jig for that right there. Hey, we're back on the ice and it sure is, it's really neat. I mean, it's exciting to be out here this early this year. We're going to have a long ice season and there's a lot of great fishing in front of us on Fish Ed. So check back with us each week and we'll bring you an episode from somewhere around the Midwest and we'll show you where to go and exactly how to catch them. Hey, I'm John Thielen. We'll catch you next time right here on Fish Ed.